Hello everyone. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, I mean. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's been a long day. How's it going, everyone? I have gone in the chat and heard some people in here. Lolly, Sergi, Anna, Nawar, Emad, and Long, and Arij, Asma, Emmy, Jacqueline, Asin. I'm seeing some new names. Gertie, Ivan, hello. Good, so I think that means it's working. You can all see me, you can hear me. That's perfect. How's it going today? Nice to be here again. This is stream number 15. Today we are talking about making comparisons. So yes, I hope everyone is doing well. If you are new, welcome to the chat. Feel free to participate and put lots of questions, lots of examples. Hello, Ali Saman, and hello, Majid. Lali, nice to see you always. Good. All right. Well, I'll change my screen and we'll get going. It's 3 o'clock. We'll be chatting to each other until 4 o'clock, and I hope you find it useful. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so here we go, main display. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and make sure you can all see it. Okay, so like I said, today we are not doing a grammar tense, but we are going into making comparisons, okay? It's a little bit, it's fun grammar. You're comparing two different things, and we have different ways of doing that. So we're going to review a lot of good grammar. Hello, Jose. How is the weather in Brazil? It's very nice here in Vancouver. Good temperature, no rain, so it's nice. Good stuff. Okay, we'll get started. We'll get going right away. Let's take a look at this little dialogue here, and we'll get started with the comparisons. So we have two speakers. Speaker A asks a question. What kind of fabric are you going to use to make the dress? Okay, we've got our future grammar with be going to. And the speaker B answers by saying, I'm just going to use cotton. It's not as soft as silk, but it's a lot cheaper. Okay, so we actually have our two different ways of comparing that we're going to talk about today, and that is the as and as with our adjective in the middle, and then our comparative adjective with er. Okay, so let's begin. Hi, Maya. Just a quick review, adjectives, okay? I'm sure you all already know that adjectives they are the part of speech that describe nouns, okay? They make the language a lot more descriptive, okay? Let's look at some examples. The house is big, okay? So big is describing the house. You could say the house is old and big, okay? Or you can modify it by saying the house is really big, okay? With an adverb and adjective, okay? Cheap is a short adjective. Maybe you mean the base adjective. Yeah, for sure. It's the base form of the adjective, cheap. Exactly. Here, the expensive makeup was on sale. Okay, so we are describing the makeup as being expensive. Okay. We often see adjectives before the nouns, okay? And we often see adjectives after the be verb. Okay. A few more examples. I ate some chips, no description, or I ate some spicy chips. Okay. Or I ate some delicious chips. Okay, spicy, delicious, crunchy, all before the noun chips. Sir Peel, right, the opposite is inexpensive. That's correct, yeah. She bought a blouse, I could say, or I could be more descriptive and say she bought a beautiful blouse. Okay, If you're not sure what blouse is, it is a shirt that has buttons, okay? And usually a collar, but just important that it is button up, a woman's blouse, okay? If you're talking about a man, usually we say dress shirt, okay? All right, so let's do a quick review on adverbs. Oh, nice one, Nawar. Scrumptious chips. Yeah, scrumptious is a good adjective. Very delicious. Scrumptious. I like that one. Hello there. Welcome to the chat. Okay, so adverbs, they're a little bit trickier because they can do more modifying than simply nouns. They can modify adjectives, okay, other verbs, or other adverbs. Okay, so 3 things that they can describe: adjectives, verbs, and other adverbs. Okay, but in this unit, we are going to focus on adverbs that describe verbs. Okay, so modify the action. Hello, Miro. Thank you. Thank you. Just getting started. For example, here we have a verb sings. How does she sing? She sings beautifully. Okay, so beautifully, ly, as you know, is a really common adverb. Okay, hi Kelvin, welcome. And next one, he can run. How can he run? He can run fast. So we have our adverb fast. And I went to bed late last night. So here we have late, modifying the action of going to bed. And Susan dresses, how does she dress? Fashionably, ly, fashionably. You could say Susan dresses well, okay? So, hello Pilar, just a little bit, no problem. Welcome. Better late than never, I always say. Okay, so we just did a little review about adjectives and adverbs, and we are talking about them in their base form, okay? And so far we haven't done any comparing, but we're going to start that now. Lolly, you sing badly. I'm sure that's not true. I don't sing that well, but maybe not badly. Hello, Phineas. Welcome. Hello, Anudian. Hopefully I said that right. Welcome to the chat. All right, let's get started. So the first form of comparing that we're going to talk about together is the as, adjective or adverb, as form, okay? So if we use the positive form this way, we are saying that both parts of the comparative are equal, okay? So they are equal and there's no difference, equal. If you use almost or nearly, it changes the comparison a little bit, okay? So if I use just a positive form, they are equal, okay? If you use almost or nearly, they change just a little bit, not very much, okay? Let's look at some examples. Steve can run as fast as Jim. Okay, so of course, when we're comparing, we do need at least two different things that we are comparing. If we can say Steve can run fast, we're not comparing Steve with anybody else. So you do need to have two different things. Superlative, we're going to get to after comparative, okay? So let's start with superlative first. So if we say this, Steve can run as fast as Jim, that means that Steve and Jim are equal, okay? Hello, Ravenel. I'm doing well. Thank you for coming. I hope you're good. Next sentence, I can jump as high as you. So this means I have the ability, I have the ability to jump as high as you, equal, okay? I ate as much as I could last night, okay? Kind of comparing yourself with yourself, but you did as much as you could. Or I ate as much as you did last night, equal. Lolly, lolly, and I can't speak French as well as you. That's true too. Gertie, barely and almost are, yes, very similar. Very, very similar. Yeah. It depends on context, of course, but in a lot of sentences, they are similar. Okay. Let's see. Haha, Noir. Well, thank you. That's a great sentence. I like it. Okay, here, let's look at this one. Today, it is almost or nearly as hot as it was yesterday. Okay, so here we have a slight difference. This means that yesterday it was a little hotter yesterday. Okay, so there's a slight difference. Let's go to my document. Okay, I'm going to actually increase the font. And we're going to come up with, it depends, Nayarana. So we'll come for some examples and you'll see here. Maya, why should we say it sounds beautiful? This is the adjective as verb. You know, if you're talking about it, this is a thing, so beautiful is what you need. It sounds beautiful. Adjective describing it, like the music. The music sounds beautiful. But beautifully is to modify an action, right? So you have to say, she sings beautifully, or they dance beautifully. But if you're describing it, it's an adjective, okay? It sounds beautiful. Okay, so let's get some examples of our equal form, as form of comparing. This means equal comparison. Okay, so we need to have positive sentences. So let's get some examples going here. No problem, no problem. Examples, maybe, for example, I am as tall as my friend. I am as tall as my friend. Who am I as tall as? I am as tall as my friend Sarah, for example. Okay, so that means we are the same height, equal. Nawar, do you have any examples of that statement, maybe? That would help. Who can give me an example of an equal as? There we go, Nayarana, good. I can speak as much as you can. Perfect, equal. So that's good, Lolly, a good example. However, that is in the negative form, so we'll wait to put that down. Here, Vladimir. Hello, Vladimir. I am as old as David. Good. Equal age. Equal age. Okay, Nawar, good example. Yes, that's good. For sure, for sure. But stuck is more so describing you. I got stuck in traffic today. Sergey, nice example. We'll put it down here. My computer is, don't forget your be verb, is as old as a dinosaur. Very old. Maybe you need a new computer, but if it's working, it's good. Yeah, Khaled, it's true. That is a sort of comparison. You're correct on that, for sure. Perfect, Jacqueline. Good adjective. She is as brilliant as her brother. Good. Brilliant. Great adjective. That means very, very smart. Very intelligent. Basak, which expression are you talking about? But no problem. Farah, I'm as tall as my sister. Good. Yusuf, I'm as engineer as John. So engineer is a noun and not an adjective. So you'd have to change your sentence a little bit by saying, for example, I'm as great as John at being an engineer, you could say. I'm as great as John at being an engineer. That means you're both equal. Good. So don't forget pillar as. It's as rainy. It's as rainy a day as it was yesterday. So you have a it's as rainy a day as it was yesterday. A little bit different sentence here. It's as rainy. You don't really need this actually. It's as rainy as it was yesterday. That's good. Good. Amir, good. All right. Good. So I'm seeing a lot of good examples. I think everyone's cool with that. If you're using a positive sentence, then both nouns on either side of as, they are equal. Okay? So don't forget that. Adding words like almost or nearly changes the comparison to just a little bit or slightly unequal. Okay? Unequal. So don't forget that. Lolly, good sentence. Good. So I'm going to go back to Smrt and keep going down. So here, we're now getting into the not as. Okay, so we've already seen a few of your examples, and this is to say that what you're talking about is not equal. Okay, so you need to make sure that you say whatever is more, you say it second in the sentence. Okay, so that's what it says here. The first noun is less in some way than the second noun. Okay, so that means the second noun is more in some way than the first. Let's take a look. I tried the chicken, but it didn't taste as good as the beef. Okay, so which one tasted better? The beef. Okay, because we're putting the beef second in the sentence, it is more. Okay, so it is more delicious than the chicken. Here, today, it doesn't feel as warm as it did yesterday. Okay, so we have our negative pattern. So that means that yesterday it was hotter, okay, or warmer. I'm not as tall as you. Okay, this means you are taller. My computer isn't as new as yours. This means your computer is newer. Okay, so you have to make sure if you're using the not as pattern that the second noun position is what is more. Okay, so let's do some more examples. I can make this bigger. A little bit bigger here. Okay. So take a look at the document just to remind you, not as as form of comparing is an unequal comparison. Okay, so that means whatever you mention last in the comparison is less than when you more, that's more. Whatever you mention last in the comparison is more than what you mentioned first. Okay. Good, so let's put some examples down here. Olga, you said, I'm not as perfect. I'm not as perfect English speaker as my friend. So you have to say, I'm not as perfect at speaking English, okay, to make it a little better here. I'm not as perfect at speaking English as my friend. Okay, so this means my friend speaks better English. Okay, that's the meaning. Let's go down to some more. I'm taller than him, THAN. Yes, you can say that. That's a comparative. We'll get to that very soon. Good, Kelvin. He is not as hard working as I am. Perfect. Sorry, hard working is going to be one word adjective. That means I am a harder worker, you could say. Okay. Ooh. Let's see some more examples. I'm not as selfish as you. Good, Ravenel. I'm not as selfish as you. So who is more selfish then? If you do this, who is more selfish? This is a shirt, Lolly, but thank you. I'm not much of a dress person, but I do sometimes like to wear them. I'm not as selfish as you. That means you are more selfish. Okay, so we are using comparatives here and just the regular base form of the adjective there. Okay, I'm a harder, I am a harder worker. This is fine. It's not a mistake. Ignore. Okay, I'm going to see some more examples. Vladimir has a question. The from chicken and beef, what's the difference? Let me go back and see that example. I tried the chicken because we're being specific on what chicken, like the chicken at this restaurant. We're being specific about the chicken and the beef that we are referring to. We're not speaking generally about chicken and beef, okay? So maybe we're talking about at a specific restaurant or something, okay? A little more examples. Nayarana, I am not as well researched as you, okay? Don't forget your ED on that. Now, I'm not as well researched as you. My car is not as fast as yours. Good job, Majid. She is not as beautiful as her sister. Good job, Emmy. I'm not as perfect a player as your brother, Al Hassan. That's good. I'll put that one down here. I'm not, capitals. I'm not as perfect a player, as your brother. Whoops. Good. This means your brother is a more perfect player. Okay, good. This wound was not as bloody as that wound. Good. Noir, the French language is not as famous as the English language. Good, good. Okay, so let's see. You are not as good a cook as I am. Saima, that's probably true. Good, that means you're a better cook. Okay, Gertie, so actually you would say diesel cars, Gertie, diesel cars, or you're doing an equal comparison. Gasoline cars are as pollutant as diesel cars, okay? So let's see here. I'm seeing a lot of good examples. I can't keep up. I think that's good for the document. And we're going to go back to Smrt. Good job, Kelvin. Yeah. Okay. So that's great, everyone. Thank you for all of your awesome examples. We do have a lot more to talk about. So let's keep the ball rolling, we say, and talk about comparative and superlative adjectives and adverbs. Okay. So with the as form that we've just been using, we're talking about the adjectives and the adverbs in their base form, okay? But if we're going to use comparatives and superlatives, we do need to change the forms a little bit, okay? So let's take a look. There are different rules. We'll go through them, and then we'll put on some examples on the document. Okay, so some of the rules are talking about syllables, okay? So if there is one syllable, then the comparative form takes ER, okay? And the superlative form takes EST at the end, okay? So with counting syllables, usually a really good way is to do the clap test, okay? With each sound in the word, that's a clap, that's a syllable. Let's see, Mehmet, your sentence. The world is not. So don't forget your be verb. The world is not as sincere as it used to be, is as old days. So I'll put your example on the document here and show you how I would say it. The world is not as sincere as it used to be. I think that's the best way, okay? The world is not as sincere now as it used to be in the older days, you could also say. Okay, so this is good. This means the world, this equals, the world was more sincere in the past, okay? Okay. So comparatives, we've been using them already today in this lesson, if that's what you mean. We've been changing our, if we say not as, we've been also using the comparative. So for example, harder is a comparative, better is a comparative, more selfish is a comparative, more perfect player, comparative, okay? More sincere is a comparative, okay? Now, back to the comparative. So again, one syllable, that means when you say the word, it's only one clap, one syllable. Let's take a look at some examples. Okay, so here are some examples. Hot, cold, big, warm, old, fast. These are all one syllable adjectives or adverbs. Okay, so you can see hotter is the comparative. You do need to add that extra T. Colder, bigger, warmer, older, faster. Okay, so we're not using the as form. We're using the comparative form. So they are different ways of comparing. Maya, both are correct. You can use both. You can say you need to drive a bit slower or you need to drive more slowly. You can do both, okay? Khaled, the world is getting warmer. Good. So Ami, the spelling rules, you just kind of have to learn the spelling rules as you go. There are too many to talk about in this exact moment, but you can always do a little quick search on the spelling rules there, okay? Good, Nawar. Canada is colder and bigger than the US. Good sentence. Good sentence. Hold on a second. One moment. Okay, so there's a rule. I needed to check quickly. If the one syllable adjective ends with a single consonant with a vowel before it, you should double the consonant before ER in the comparative form, okay? So if we take a look at here, we have a vowel O and then we have one consonant T, so it's doubled, okay? But here with cold, we have a consonant and then our D, so we don't double the D. Here we have a vowel and one consonant, so you double the consonant, okay? So that's the rule for that one. All right. Let me continue. Okay, sorry. Superlative. Let's get going with the superlatives. Superlatives are different than comparatives because you are saying one thing is more than everything else, okay? So we do use the article the. Don't forget the. the hottest, the coldest, the biggest, the warmest, the oldest, the fastest. It is a stronger statement, okay? So, one syllable, add ER to the comparatives, add EST to the superlatives, okay? And next rule, adjectives that end in Y. So we're talking about adjectives that end in Y. Usually the Y changes to an I before ER, okay? And the I before EST. So let's take a look here. So easy, it's two syllables, easy, but it ends in Y, okay? So the comparative, easier, okay? The superlative, the easiest, okay? Busy, two syllables, but ends in Y, so busier and the busiest, okay? So for example, doctors are generally busier than accountants, for example. I mean, this is a general statement. They're both busy, I'm sure. Or the subway is the busiest during rush hour, for example. Yeah, police are busier than most other professions, okay? Pretty ends in Y, so prettier, the prettiest. Happy, again, happier, the happiest, okay? Okay, so let's continue. We have more rules to talk about. Adjectives with two or more syllables, okay? That's good, Nairana, that's right. Two or more syllables, the rule is different. So you need to use more before the adjective or adverb and the most before the superlative, okay? So the adjective or adverb, it stays in its base form, but you need to add the extra word before. So to know how many syllables, clap test. Nervous, interesting, fashionable, boring, okay? There's always more than one syllable, okay? So you should say more nervous or the most nervous, more interesting or the most interesting, more fashionable or more boring, okay? So you are not adding ER on the actual adjective or adverb. They are staying the same, okay? Now, welcome to English. There are always exceptions, right? There are always exceptions. So lolly, red, you know, redder is technically what you should say. However, in my experience, I do hear people saying more red. Like that apple is actually, erase that. It's definitely redder. That apple is redder than that apple, okay? It's a bit tricky because sometimes native speakers do not follow exactly the correct grammar sometimes, okay? So here are some exceptions. So for some adjectives, you can use both forms. You can use ER or you can use more, okay? And you can use EST or you can use the most in the superlative. Both ways are okay. And here are some of the common adjectives which this is the case, okay? So friendly. Long English is the most interesting language to learn, you would say. Good. Football is the most interesting sport in the world, Kelvin. Good. Okay, so for all of these, both are okay. Simple, you can say more simple or simpler. Okay, that is simpler than this, or that is more simple than this. A library is quieter than a club, or a library is more quiet than a club. Train tunnels are more narrow than car tunnels, for example. Or train tunnels are narrower than car tunnels. Okay. I can see more clearly than you. Sorry, that's the adverb. Or this information is more clear than that information. And superlatives is the same, where you can say the most friendly or the friendliest. You can say the most simple or the simplest. Okay? We'll continue with our rules and we'll come up with our own examples after. So if you're talking about adverbs that end in ly, a lot of them do, we're going to use more before the adjective and most before the superlative. For example, he sings more beautifully than I do. Or she drives more carefully than I do. Or my grandmother drives the most carefully of anyone I know. Good job, Long. Yes, that's a good correction. Okay, so moving into some irregular adjectives and adverbs. There definitely are some irregular ones. The main: good, bad, and far. Okay, so we have good is the base form, better is the comparative, and the best is the superlative. Bad is the base form, worse is the comparative form, and the worst is the superlative. Far is your base form, farther or further, spelling doesn't matter, is the comparative, and the farthest or the furthest is the superlative. Amar says, I drive more slowly in rush hour. Good, that's probably a really good idea. People are crazy during rush hour. Okay, Ravenel with a very confident example here. I'm the most beautiful guy in the world. Okay, good to have self-confidence. Right on. All right, so we've gone over the main rules when it comes to forming the comparative, the superlative, but we can look at some examples using them. Okay, so take a look here. I met his sister last night. She seems nicer. Okay, we often use than if we're going to use two or more things. Okay, but we'll talk about that just in a moment. You did well, but you can do better. Okay, so we're comparing how you did with how you can do. Okay, could you please speak more slowly? So wanting someone to speak more slowly than they did before. Well, red it could be an irregular adjective. Yeah. A lot of people say more red, and a lot of people say redder. A lot of people say the most red or the reddest. Okay, but technically it's a one syllable, so it should be ER and EST. Here, Canada is big, but Russia is bigger. It feels warm today, but it's going to feel warmer tomorrow. Okay, so that's good, but if we're going to use more than one thing in our comparison, we use THAN, than. Okay, so here's an example. My class is more interesting than your class. She can run faster than you. The weather today seems nicer than it was yesterday. So that means yesterday it was not as nice. Okay? You are not a bad singer. I sing much worse than you do. Okay? So that means you sing better than I do. My older brother is lazier than me. So that means I am not as lazy as my older brother. That's right. Hard and harder. That's right. And the hardest. Good. Okay, so let's put some more examples on our document. Okay, so comparative. Let's go ahead and I'll give you an adjective and I want you to think of a sentence. Okay, so let's see. I'll give you, how about, we'll just do interesting. Who can think of a comparative example with the adjective interesting? Oh, Gertie, that's a good one. We'll do modern. Vancouver. Oops. Vancouver is more modern than Montreal. Good. Yeah, that's true. Now, Irana, more is not for emphasis. More is really just the form of the comparative, okay? If you want emphasis, we would say much more, much more. Good. Shy, Pillar, that's a good one. We can do shy as well. And let's see here. Traveling, Nawar says traveling by train is safer than traveling by car. Good, so your adjective was safe. Good. Ravenel, Lionel Messi is better than Cristiano Ronaldo. That's a strong statement. Controversial statement, maybe. I don't know much about soccer, but okay. Godfred, thank you for the compliment. And you can, I'm not sure if you can download it, but you can always re-watch it on YouTube later on. It will be there. You can re-watch it as much as you want. Vladimir, so good. You have a sentence with interesting. He is a more interesting person than me. Good. Good. Nawar, going to the beach is more interesting than going to the mountains. Oh, I disagree. No, I'm just kidding. I agree. I like both equally. So I would probably say going to the beach is as interesting as going to the mountains. Okay, good. Okay. That's good, Jacqueline. Great sentence. Perfect. Nabil, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You would just have to add with before other. Learning English with you is more interesting than with other teachers. Ravenel, Ibiza is a more interesting place to visit than Dubai. Good. Khaled, Germany is nicer. So be careful here. You don't want to have more nicer. That's a double comparative. So just nicer. Okay. Can you say he is the most interesting person than me? So Kelvin, you can't compare with than me because a superlative is saying that one is more than everything else. So you just need to say he is the most interesting person. Dot. That's it. Mehmet. Okay, good night. It's late in Turkey. Thank you for saying goodbye. Enjoy your evening. I wish you a good day too. A good sleep, actually. Yes, she is shyer than her sister. Yes, good. She is shyer than her sister. Yeah. It looks a little bit strange, but yes, it is shyer. Okay, good. So we need to keep going. I'm sorry, there's not that many, but we do need to keep going because we have more to do here. Okay, so there is a difference between using the as comparative system and the comparing system and the comparative comparing system. Okay, so you have to pay attention to the difference. Let's look at these examples. If I say cotton is not as expensive as silk, I'm using the negative as pattern. If I want to change the adjective to a comparative adjective, I need to change the order of the sentence. I need to put silk at the beginning, okay? Because silk is more. So silk is more expensive than cotton. If you want to keep the same order and start with cotton, you have to change the adjective to the opposite. Okay, so expensive, cheaper. Cotton is cheaper than silk. Okay, that's the opposite of more expensive. Pintu, I think basically a lot of experience and a lot of, immersing yourself in the language and really focusing on listening to the grammar that people use. And when you're watching, TV or movies, not so much focusing on the story, but really focusing on the grammatical structures that are used. But, other than not studying the rules and doing exercises and stuff like that. Okay, so if we say Peter is not as tall as Phil, we're using our negative pattern. So Phil, you have to put at the beginning for our comparative, taller. Phil is taller than Peter, okay? Or Peter is shorter than Phil. If we're going to keep the same order, you're going to change the adjective, okay? Okay, good. So let's see here. A couple more things. We can modify our comparatives with using words like much or far or a lot, these meaning the same. Okay, far can mean a lot. She is far more generous than he is. This means a lot more generous. This would be a little more formal than a lot. Okay? Way is informal, but it means a lot. Okay? A bit, a little, and slightly can also be used to just mean a little bit. Okay, so let's see here. Brazil is a big country, but China is much bigger. So our comparative is big, much bigger. Could you speak a bit more slowly, please? Just a little. My car is way better than my old one. This is really informal spoken English. Way better. This means a lot better. Okay? He is way happier than he used to be. Okay? So it just means a lot, but very informal. I live slightly farther from school than you do. So just a little bit. Okay? So Gertie, English is a language. I would say in your sentence, I would say English is spoken more often than Portuguese. Okay? English is spoken more often than Portuguese. If you want to use the word language, the English language is spoken more often than the Portuguese language. Okay? Pintu, I will get back to you on a suggestion, okay? I don't have one on the top of my head, so I'll have to think about it. Nayarana, with comparatives, you can use different tenses for sure. You can use different tenses, not only present, but it depends on the context, okay? If you're comparing something in the past, that's fine. You can compare in the future, true, but commonly it's in the present tense. Yeah. Okay. Sergey, no, way here doesn't mean about which way to go, which way to travel. It's not about direction, it's about big, okay? Okay, good, Vladimir. So we're actually going to talk about that now, okay? Well, the or the, it doesn't matter. You can pronounce them both. Then the English language, the English language. The article the can be pronounced those two ways. The or the, okay? Okay, so let's continue. We've got good 10 minutes left, so we have to keep going. There's more to say. So at the end of the comparison, there are two different things we can do. We can use pronouns to be informal, okay? Or we can use a subject pronoun and an auxiliary verb. So those are the two different ways. Let's take a look. And Pintu, what was your question? Difference between formal and informal. Well, you can look in the dictionary at both definitions, but basically informal just means more casual, okay? And formal is the opposite of that, a little more, what's the word? Structured, you know, a little more formal, a little more proper, you could say, okay? So let's take a look. Informal, spoken, casual. You did better than me. That's fine. Yeah, pillar, polite as well. If you want to be a little more academic, good. Thank you, guys. Thank you for helping me. You did better than I did is simply another way to do it, and it sounds a little bit more formal, perhaps better in writing, okay? So you use your pronoun, but then you use the same auxiliary verb. So you did better than I did. She can't type as fast as me. So that's casual. Or she can't type as fast as I can. We have our modal verb. If it's negative, you repeat it in the positive. Okay. Next one. He is going to arrive earlier than her. Casual. He is going to arrive earlier than she is. Okay, you have your be going to, your be verb, so you should repeat your be verb. They dress more fashionably than us. Casual. Or they dress more fashionably than we do. So here, this is a present simple sentence, so there is no auxiliary verb do, but you need to remember to add it. Okay, so you're adding it in the end. I didn't do as well on the test as you. Or, more formal, I didn't do as well on the test as you did. Okay? Didn't is negative, so you should repeat it positive. Okay? So, let's just put this example here, this one. Sergey, I know this is a lot of information. I know, and there's still more to come, but there's a lot, I know. So let's see here. Put this example. She can't type as fast as me. How can you change this sentence to a comparative with the same meaning? She can't type as fast as me. How could we say this using a comparative with the same meaning? Second option. Pintu, I'm sorry if you don't, I can't teach just anything. I'm teaching the Smrt program in order of the units, so perhaps there are many other videos to check out for sure. I can type faster than her. Perfect. I can type faster than her, or I can type faster than she can. Good. 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 She can't type as fast as I can. Yeah, and she can't type as fast as I can. That's another way of using another ending, but in this case you're going to change to the comparative form. I can type faster than her, okay, right? Because you have to change the order. Another one. Let's do another one. This one here. To our document. So how can we say this using the as system? Here we have a comparative. Okay, this is a comparative. How can we change it to as or not as. So you need to change the order of things. They dress more fashionably than us, or we need to start with we and make it a negative as system. See if you guys can figure that one out. I'll give you a minute. It needs to be a negative pattern. So how do we make it negative? Remember, so they dress more fashionably than us. That means that they dress more. So we, Jacinta can't dress. So we're going to use don't instead of can't, right? So we don't. You could use can't, but don't might be better. We don't. Here we go, Vladimir. If you add don't, yours is good. We don't dress as fashionably as they do. Perfect. We do not dress as fashionably as they do. Okay, that's the proper way. We have our negative, because this means that they dress more fashionably than us. I know it's a bit hard, it's a bit complex to do the change. You have to kind of really think about the order of the nouns, okay? So let's see here. I'm gonna keep going. We do have more to talk about. We're gonna probably go over 4 o'clock by a few minutes, but that's okay. So first of all, superlatives. We haven't talked too much about superlatives. So remember, comparatives, we're comparing two things. But superlatives, we're saying that one thing is more than everything else. So it's a very strong statement. Unless it's fact, that's fine. Then it's not very strong statement, it's just fact. Such as in this example, Jim is the tallest student in the class. This is not a strong statement, it's just a fact if you measure everybody. Okay, so notice the article is always there, the tallest. Here is a strong statement. There are many great Italian restaurants in town, but this one is the best. Okay, so that's a strong personal opinion statement. Okay. Here, another personal opinion statement. Shelley, my bad. It went up. I'm sorry. Here. Shelley is one of the nicest people I have ever met. Okay, so here, Nayarana, we are using the present perfect in this sentence. Yeah. Okay, good. And that is the most expensive, one of the most expensive cars you can buy. Okay. Avinash, let me look. Give me a moment. That's correct. Yeah. Fashionably is modifying the verb to dress. That's right. Dear Knack, I am the tallest of all my friends, you should say. I am the tallest out of all my friends, you could say. Lolly, lolly, that's fine. See, that's a lot of it is personal opinion, and in order to weaken your personal opinion, you can use the expression one of, okay, which is what we're going to see here. People often choose to add one of before their superlative statement because it really kind of humbles your opinion. It's not so in your face. It's not so strong, you know. Let's see here at some of your examples. For example, Lolly, you said Paris is the best city in the world. That's fine. You can say that, But if you want it to be a little bit weaker, you could, or sorry, a little, not weaker, but just less intense, you could say, Paris is one of the best cities in the world. That means that you are keeping it open to the fact that there are other nice cities, but Paris is one of the best cities in the world. Noir, wouldn't they say the town? Let me go back to my example. Okay. Well, it depends. It depends where you are. If you're not in the town, you would say the town. But if you are in the town when you say it, there's no need to say the town. Okay? If you're in another place, you could say, yes, the town. But if you are in it, you don't need the. And I don't know among my friends, if you're thinking about this one, you don't need to say that, because maybe you're not friends. Maybe you just know each other at work, or your acquaintance, or something like that. Okay? Amir, I will share the link to the class at the end for sure. We just have, we're going over a little bit, but yes, I want to finish this because we're almost done. So, like I said, using one of is a good way to use superlatives. That is to keep it open that there are others. Okay, so for example, it is one of the hottest days of the year. There are going to be other hot days. This is one of them. Yes, Avinash, it is. Yeah, it's part of the form. Sometimes people keep it out, but that's only if they are listing superlatives. Okay, we do have it in the beginning. She has one of the most beautiful voices I have ever heard. Okay, so that means that there are other beautiful voices, but she has one of them. Noir, that's a good sentence. Sorry, that's what you meant. That's good. You can say, I am the tallest among my friends. That's good. I am the tallest out of all of my friends is another way to say it. Yeah. Gertie, the trip to the moon is one of the most important events in modern history. Good sentence. Yeah. Good. Let's see here. This is one of the most difficult things I have ever done. Good sentence. Okay, so that means that there are other difficult things, but it's one of them. All right, so I'm just looking back at the document. Let's see here. I want to put a few examples for you guys down here because we don't have any. So let's go for some superlative, adjective, or adverb examples. Good. Paris is one of the best cities, plural, in the world. Good. You could say Rome is one of the most, or one of the most fascinating places in the world. Okay, whoops, places. Fascinating is simply a meaning for interesting, very interesting. No problem, Avinash. Jacqueline, vaccines were one of the most important events for science you can say in recent years. That's good, good sentence. I agree, for sure. Farah, I am the shortest. Good. In this case, you don't need one of because it's kind of just a fact. I am the shortest guy in my whole family, you can say, in my whole family. Nayarena, thank you so much. That's so nice of you to say. I appreciate it. Good. And me, English is one of the greatest languages in the world, okay? So if you're using one of, we do have a plural noun, okay? And let's see, Raphael. Switzerland is definitely nice, is definitely one of the best spots, like I said, plural spots. I've ever been to, you need. I've ever been to. Great. Yes, I've been there too. It's so beautiful, so mountainous. Yeah. Fascinating means interesting, very interesting. Sergei, St. Petersburg is one of the most, don't forget, most beautiful cities in the world. Good. So basically with superlatives, if you are talking about a fact, you don't need to use one of. If you're giving an opinion, it's very common to use one of. If you don't want to use one of and you're giving an opinion, that's fine too. Other people might argue your statement, but that's okay, you know. Good, Nawar. You could say YouTube is the most, don't forget, the most useful place to learn English. It's a really good tool for sure. Khaled. But I have sunshine to enjoy. It's really sunny here. Rodrigo, shortest is a superlative. Shorter is the comparative. Shortest is a superlative. And biggest is a superlative too. Long, that's funny. Your name is long, but you are short. That's awesome. Yes, yeah, no more information. We're actually done for today. It was a big, long lesson, lots to take in, a lot to take in. If you need to be reminded of the rules of superlatives and comparatives, please look at those rules again online. If you have access to Smrt, you know which unit this is. This is Unit 5, Grammar 5.3. And I did have somebody ask what we're doing next week, and I can tell you, if I just look at here at our units, okay. Next week, we are going to be talking about, I'm sure everyone is curious about this, gerunds, okay. Noah, that's awesome. You're a pro. I didn't think you forgot it. All right, so yeah, next week, make sure you tune in because it's very useful talking about gerunds, verb ing, okay? And yes, you can always rewatch the lesson, and then maybe make notes about the rules for the superlatives and comparatives and the exceptions and that kind of thing. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good time. We're going to talk about gerunds next week. And I will share the document in the chat with you guys. And thanks for tuning in. I hope I didn't miss any questions. I'm sorry if I did. There were a lot of things going on in the chat. So if I missed anything, I apologize. But yeah, thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Yeah. Let's see, Farah. You can subscribe to Smrt English, and I believe there are instructions on the YouTube channel, okay? So I'll say goodbye. Thank you. Take care. It's all good.